Dear Diary, this gig sucks. I was jumping around acting like a frickin' moron, like out of some stupid 1920s film noir. I can't believe it, but it was only 5 days of shooting, and I did pretty good at memorizing my lines each night before, and the chicks were pretty cute. We made sweet love in the studio backlot set. Love you, Diary, William Shatner, 1967.
No, that's pretty funny there, XO. What are you? Forgot about it. It wasn't 5 days. It was 6 days, first of all. So, hey, all of yous out there. Welcome to Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies. We are back. Hi, Mike. How you doing? How's it feeling over there? You doing okay or what?
You gotta stop this. I can't stand. First of all, you're encroaching on my cultural heritage.
Oh,
heritage.
Yes.
Yes, obviously. Number one. Number two, it's just like nails on a chalkboard. Although I did not mind this episode, honestly. I thought that it were some good stuff. Once again, a reasonable explanation as to why we're seeing the weird stuff that we're seeing. If this had been Cat's Paw or Miri, there would have been no explanation for why everyone was talking like a gangster.
That's true.
And all it took was about 5 seconds of explanation as to why everyone is emulating some random bit of the Earth's past. Although it does make it's kind of a cool what if, right? Like, you know, they could have done this with anything. They could have been there and it could have been a medieval town. It could have been 1960s psychedelic stuff.
Well, you know, it's funny. Star Trek does hit the 1960s very briefly in DS9 and also in some things like Assignment Earth. But tonight we're talking about a piece of the action. Yes, everyone, it's the one with the gangsters. The gangsters from the 1920s.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I thought that they were going... For some reason, I thought that, like, half the TOS episodes were this. For some reason, I thought that they were going to be in fedoras a bunch. We're more than halfway through the entire season, and this is the first time I'm seeing them in fedoras.
Yes, this is the one cosplay, you could say, of 1920s Chicago, which is what this technically is based off of, or Chicago crime, or the mafia crimes of the 1920s, or gangs. That's what this episode's about. This was written by Gene Kuhn and David Harmon. It is not one of the best translations of what was done. In fact, Gene Kuhn hated the script after a while, or realized the script wasn't good, and everyone else literally hated it. It originally was supposed to be called, or an original concept was done by Gene Roddenberry called President Capone. What if a gangster was president of the United States? No comments. This over here also, yeah.
Ayo, shots fired.
Yeah. But there's also, there was so many rewrites and tweaks and changes. One of its actual original names of this episode was really not a piece of the action, but Mission to Chaos, because it was so all over the place. They had no idea how to write it. David Harmon, who was invited back to write this, he doesn't really get Star Trek at all. It does have...
Get out of town.
Nah, right? They had to Star Trek it up. DC Fontana, Robert Justman, they all hated this episode. It's actually not one of my favorite either. It is a comedy episode, but let's just talk about some of the basics. It was written, like I said, by Gene Kuhn and David Harmon, and it's directed by James Comack. What's interesting about this is technically the episode after the last Joe Pevney episode, which we actually see next, called the Immunity Syndrome. Joe Pevney quit because he figured he couldn't tell the actors what they could do anymore. We can hit upon that when we get to our next episode. But so this director was happy because everyone's out of their element. And why couldn't they tell the actors what to do? Because the actors, no, Captain Kirk wouldn't do that, or Mr. Spock wouldn't say that. They became to own their own parts. And so when a director directs...
Well, I mean, you have to do that over 40, 50 episodes, and especially after decades. Leonard Nimoy talked about that often,
Well,
right?
but this is the second year they're doing this, and the directors are saying, like, shut up, you does what I tell you. But in this situation, since they're all out of whack, if you will, James Comack, the director, was able to direct them a little bit more forcefully. They're out of their element. They're playing technologically advanced people stuck in a 20th century mentality. This episode is originally actually also could be seen as an argument for the prime directive, because we find out about the USS Horizon, which infected this planet with technical journals, and for some odd reason they left a giant copy of the Gangs of Chicago. Why would you have that as a book? It's a little weird to me, but I
don't know. I mean, it's not crazy if it was something that someone enjoyed reading and they left a bunch of different things behind. Wasn't it noted that these are pretty advanced aliens? So, I mean, wasn't this, these are very advanced aliens who are capable of assimilating very quickly?
You said they were imitative in the book. I don't want any more cracks about the book.
Did they leave any other books? Yeah, sure.
Some textbooks on how to make radio sets and stuff like that.
Well, they were able to copy very quickly, so that's what their special talent is they're able to adapt and copy. Very Borg-like, you could say.
Well, also, did you ever, this is a deep cut, completely unrelated to Star Trek, did you ever see the classic 90s horror film, Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
You know, I never did. I always saw it in this weird magical place called a video store, and I said, one day I got to buy that or rent that. So I never saw it.
Pretty amazingly well done. Like, acting is not bad. The makeup and the animatronics are absolutely amazing. And basically, there are these like very creepy, violent, homicidal aliens that look like clowns. But not only that, like, they do a bunch of clown things. They throw pies, they have a big top, and I always thought that they were some aliens who basically are like vicious, but before they go ahead and infiltrate society, they'll kidnap a portion of it and try to assimilate into it and look like it, and then go in because it'll make a invasion easier. But that they screwed up, and instead of taking like a nice cross section of a town, they picked up a circus tent, and they thought that that's what the entire place would be like. Anyway, the point is, it's a good concept what's going on in this tale, and it could have gone in many different directions. I could see why they're unhappy with the script, because it really spins its wheels after the concept gets going. I mean, how many times do they get kidnapped, escape, and kidnapped and escape again?
3. But right. I will tell you that sure is, and Mr. Owl isn't eating a blow pop.
Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop?
A good question. Let's find out. 1, 2, 3.
Let me give you the press release on this one. It says, the superior technology of the Enterprise crew is temporarily unable to cope with the gangster tactics of the planet Iotia 2 in a piece of the action. I'm actually going to jump down a little bit in this very long press release, but it goes, the contamination was left on Sigma Iotia a century earlier when the Federation ship, the USS Horizon, has visited. Now Kirk and company, in an attempt to live up to the Federation's mandate of non-interference, must find a way to put things right on this world divided by warring mobster gangs. So that's actually kind of interesting that, 100 years prior, there was a Federation, not according to what we know now in Star Trek. Of course, the Star Trek timelines are all over the place between Enterprise and the original series, not counting that mess that's out there, and I won't even mention Section 31.
Well, I mean, there was Mako, right?
Yeah, the Makos are part of the Enterprise era.
Enterprise.
Right. So it's, although forgetting that for a second, the non-interference directive, this is another time it shows itself, and we know it as a prime directive. We'll see it more and more as the original series goes on, and you're well aware of it in the Next Generation as well as other things as well. It's kind of a loosey-goosey type of thing. But basically the idea is that we're not going to help people, no matter even if they're in trouble, just so we don't give them our technology or help them out of their own way. There's sometimes where they could actually destroy themselves. That's always a question. Do we help a poorer society with advanced technology, or will they use it as weapons? Who knows? It's a commentary, I guess you could say, on interference of nations and other nations on the Earth. But here we are. They're flying over to Sigma Iotia 2, and yet Kirk is talking to a guy named Bella Oxmix, talking about how they're warping over and beaming down. So, I guess you could say that the infection has already been done, the contamination is already done, but you already know it's kind of weird when the guy's talking like he's from, like in a gangsterish like voice, like a strongman, Bella Oxmix. And then they beam down to basically a backlot on now the Paramount Desilu Studios. What did you think of this opening where they get down there and are faced with guys and with Tommy guns? And
I really like that everyone had a gun.
Sir, does everyone here carry firearms?
I never heard such stupid questions in my life.
Like, without exception. Even the women had guns, the men had guns. It kind of reminded me of, like, I don't know, like medieval times when everyone's walking around with a sword. I dug it quite a bit. Listen, right off the bat, it's good because it sets it as a hokey episode. This is a lighter episode, and that's okay. Star Trek can be serious at times. It can have lighter things at times, and the thing is consistency. If you're going to have a dark episode, don't have someone, slip and fall or, laugh in hysterics at some dumb joke at the end. If you're going to have a light episode, don't have it be about the fate of the universe teetering on on a pin. So this is good. It's a pretty small, contained story, and not a lot is at stake. At no point is like the Enterprise going to get destroyed. And honestly, I never really was too concerned about the fate of our characters. One thing, by the way, just Prime Directive. Speaking of Prime Directive, one thing I always loved about a pretty mediocre Star Trek piece of media. What are your thoughts on Star Trek Insurrection?
Star Trek Insurrection. That's the planet where everyone's in like the what they call the Sears Blah collection of dull colors, where they say I don't use technology, even though they're using technology. That one with the Baku. I think I got that from Red Letter Media, but it's really it doesn't really do it for me. It's like a really long episode. I did see it in the theater though, so.
I saw all the Star Trek movies in the theater, at least all the the next gen ones. And actually, I do remember being 6 and seeing Undiscovered Country. So
you were 6. I think I was 73.
So one thing I did like about Insurrection was there was like a constitutional law moment where Picard's fighting with the Admiral, and
right.
he goes and he says like, this is a Prime Directive issue, and he's like, no, it's not a Prime Directive issue because these people are not native to this planet. They had their technology, they've traveled the stars, and they picked this place to colonize. I'm like, it's a pretty good distinction, Admiral. Like, I thought that was not bad because it's not like they can be influenced by outside technology anymore just because they're being revisited. It doesn't mean that you can't interfere with folks who are space travelers but choosing to be ascetic. It really is for developing places to not influence them.
Right. Well, in Insurrection also, I mean, they're hogging off this life-changing whatever atmosphere, but that could benefit thousands of other people, which is a little bit selfish of them, if you will.
Oh, but, yeah. No, in retrospect, that Admiral was 100% correct.
Right. But the Sona were not.
The Sona were not. Like, the Sona were in it just for revenge, and, like, they were bad people. But the Admiral, I completely understand why he was doing everything he did before he got his face stretched.
It's not one of my favorite episodes, but in this episode it's a movie, but it feels like an episode. But in this episode, a piece of the action, which is what we're talking about here, you can see that the contamination is pretty intense. I mean, they even asked the boss, or the largest boss, Bella Oxmix. I love the guy's name. You know, what'd they leave? They left some technical manuals, and they left the book, which Spock sees as a stylized giant book of gangs of Chicago of the 1920s.
One book on the gangs of Chicago did all of this. It's amazing. They evidently seized upon that one book as the blueprint for an entire society.
But it's like, how detailed was the information left? Not only did they get electronics, basic electronics done, and firearms done, and auto mechanics done, but obviously they had a nice collection of suits and ties and cravats and hats. You know, they had from the fedora to a Hugo Boss-inspired suit collection. That was a pretty interesting collection that the USS Horizon had on it. You know, so I always find that humorous. But there is one thing I do always draw my eyes to, is when they first meet Bella Oxmix in the office after Krakow kills one of his henchmen. He's playing pool, but it's not like he's really playing.
He's moving
pool.
the cue ball.
He's just batting. Yeah, well, he's moving many balls around. He's not like playing it correctly. So I'm wondering how much of it did they really copy correctly from all the technical manuals that they were given. What else is a little screwed up? But you know, that's just me observing.
Well, the fact that they can't stop saying the word heater, I wanted to kill myself.
Oh, heater.
They say the word heater 30 times in this episode.
Well, you don't like them heaters there, them Fed heaters. Yeah, it's a little strange. That must have meant that they must have seen them before, and they just didn't use them. But why would the USS Horizon display their phasers or lasers, if you will, to this group of somewhat primitive people? It's a little weird. I think it's a little bit odd. By the way, the writer here wrote one of your other not favorite episodes, The Deadly Years, David Harmon. So, yeah. So what the originally idea was is they were chasing a ship that was like a generational ship that had everyone stuck with the computers teaching them about 1920 Chicago, and they were stuck in that time period, and the Enterprise crew had to go turn it around, and no one liked that.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
So the only exactly, that's what a lot of people say. It's that Robert Justman didn't like the story. Yeah. He said, why do they have to look like they're humans from the 1920s? He didn't get it. But I want to point out to you, this has been rewritten.
Don't mind that little pooch.
Yeah, cannoli.
Yeah.
It was written 3 times by David Harmon, rewritten by Gene Kuhn 3 times, once by Meredith Lucas once, and again 1 time for all staff. So they had rewrote it 7 times. This is also December 21st, 1967. It's when they were doing all the background stuff. But this idea of contamination you see numerous times in other Star Trek. Like you've got Friendship 1 in Voyager. I don't know if do you remember that one? Did you see that?
I don't remember that. Refresh me.
That's the one where there's like a Federation warp ship goes out across the universe beaming messages of friendship.
And how's that bad?
And it gives a warp technology to a planet that turns the warp technology into weapons, and they kill each other.
Oh, sure.
Then you have
the Ferengi one.
They have the communicator. You mean like with the Ferengi by the warp drive? That's where they got theirs.
No. I was talking about there's a Voyager episode where, in quite a good piece of continuity. So in a DS9 thing, there are these 2 Ferengi who get stuck on the other side of a wormhole to the Delta Quadrant, and sure enough, they come back in Voyager having taken over a planet.
Profit motive.
Yes, profit motive.
Right.
And turning the entire planet of humanoids into greedy old Ferengi humanoids.
Well, but yeah, that's not techie. But here we go. We also have the communicator from Enterprise. Yeah, I don't know if you know that one, where they leave a communicator on a planet.
I've never seen a full episode of Enterprise.
Well, then I will have to torture you with it. And then in TNG, you got Who Watches the Watchers. You know that one? Mm-hmm. And you also have...
Of course, yes, with a proto
with the Picard. And you got First Contact, where it's kind of like the reverse of... and that's not the one with the Borg. I mean, First Contact, the episode where Riker is captured.
Yes.
And, And also, if you just take a look at what DS9 is, they're trying not to interfere with Bajor, essentially. But, That's
What? Bajor's is warp.
yeah, but Bajor is there, but they don't try and interfere with their normal stuff. So there's a lot of that you see with the non-interference directive, is what I mean. But they do sell them things or give them industrial replicators. I guess that's okay. But yeah, there you go. So that was the basic idea behind it. I will tell you that DC Fontana didn't like it, and she wanted to know why all the women had to wear like ultra short skirts.
Oh, give me a break.
But so Justman was the one who came up with the idea of planetary contamination, and that allowed Kuhn to flesh it out. DC Fontana said that she thought David Harmon failed them badly. That's actually her words. She found no drama, tension, or danger, and no justification for all the sets to be built, and a sort of lethargy in it. I feel David has done badly by us, and that major surgery is absolutely imperative on an 11-page memo.
I would agree that it's kind of a pointless story, but it's just light. It's like every tale you have doesn't have to be reinventing the wheel or adding a gigantic piece of lore or changing the way that we look at the universe. Like you can have just a fun one, man.
Well, I guess you could say it's fun. I mean, I just find it humorous that all the producers sent out like 11-page memos saying how this entire original script sucks. So what you're actually seeing is a team effort of resaving the original David Harmon script. By the way, there was also another concern that this would seem like too anti-Italian. So there you go.
And rightfully so.
They were worried about you and your peeps there. You know what I'm talking about, huh? Yeah, Again, it called this the Mission to Chaos. And when Gene Kuhn actually quit, he only rewrote 3 of the acts. John Meredith Lucas finished the last of the acts. But after Gene Kuhn finally finished it, and he admitted he shouldn't have purchased the script, that's when the script got good. So this entire thing was redone. That's pretty wild. The director, James Comack, he was known for My Favorite Martian, Get Smart, Tarzan.
Oh, okay. I can see a lot of Get Smart in this.
Yep,
I love Get Smart.
He liked the who doesn't? Combat, Tarzan. He thought the Iotians had the IQ of room temperature, as he called them, and Spock and Kirk were like leaving them way behind so they could outmaneuver them. He liked comedy, so that's what you see over here. So you have a whole bunch of things. You've got Bella Oxmix as Anthony Caruso, who played a lot of, believe it or not, American Indians and gangsters. And Vic Tayback, as our short said, he was in this episode, this TV show called
Mel's Diner.
Well, no,
I don't even know what it is, and I know it. Get to the point, Captain.
Yeah.
You're spinning your wheels as badly as this episode.
I'm just telling you what it is. I'm giving you all
I'm
the
sorry.
thing.
I was just getting bored.
But you got Krakow, Zabo, all these weird names. They have all these odd and strange names. One other thing that's interesting, one of the hitmans, Jay Jones, he died as Jackson in Cat's Paw. That's the first guy that falls off the transporter pad. Yep, he also gets killed as Ensign Mallory in an exploding rock on the ground in the apple.
Oh, yes.
So he dies here from a bullet. Look at that.
Glad to see that they're being that they're giving these actors new work as opposed to just going through all the extras of Hollywood in 1967.
Hey, there's, it is what it is, doing like the Scotty's comedic bits.
You mind your place, mister, or you'll be wearing concrete galoshes.
You mean cement overshoes?
Aye.
But, you have all that, and I tell in one of the other shorts I posted is that James Doohan expanded his audio repertoire by adding more voices. You'll hear his voice more and more all over the place. But so the director here said he was able to direct people here more because they couldn't really say we have to act a certain way because they're trying to fit into this hoodlum-based culture. It's a very, very strange type of thing. I see it as a comedy. I don't know. It just never really did it for me because I want more space in my outer space adventure. But, there you go. The Oxmix wants to unite all the clans or gangs together. And that's the idea. And he says, why don't you give me all the weapons that I want and I'll unite everyone for you.
You give me all the heaters I need, enough tools so I can knock off all those punks all at once. Then I'll take over, and all you have to do is deal with me.
I will say, not to stop your 5-minute monologue.
Okay. You're going to draw the line here. And no farther.
No further. Captain just starts talking, and he goes down, and then he asks me a question of what I think about it, and then he keeps talking as I'm about to respond.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. To wit, I don't even remember what the hell I was going to say.
You're agonizer, sir.
Yes. Okay. How powerful is a phaser?
That's a really good question. It's powerful enough. It's as powerful as the script needs it to be. It can actually wipe out half the side of a building, as Kirk says in the beginning, or stun people. The Enterprise uses its new stun feature from space.
Yes, I did like that. And wait, that's another thing. Did I miss something? Why didn't they just beam Kirk right out of there?
You know, that's a really good question. Well, at first it was because they were holding him hostage, and they were really close. So I think it was just afraid that they would hurt them, but it's for drama. There's really no reason why they couldn't just lock onto him and beam him up. But if you think of the beginning, Bella Oxmix takes Kirk's communicator. And I guess censors, this is me filling it in, censors would say that they all look kind of human. So, but that's kind of weird. Why wouldn't they just beam them all back in? It's a good question. No idea. So, we got the drama of them saying you either play ball with us or we'll whack you. And they hold the Enterprise landing crew in a warehouse where this is where we learn about Fizbin.
Oh, I did like the Fizbin thing. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it's actually funny. I mean, again, it does rear its head again in DS9, where Quark trying to play with Odo the game Fizbin. And, DS9...
Please insert here that weird baseball thing I sent you from Futurama.
Okay. You mean with the blurms?
Yes.
The hang of this game. The blurns are loaded, the count's 3 blurns and 2 anti-blurns, and the infield blurn rule is in effect, right?
Except for the word blurn, that was complete gibberish.
If you didn't get another jack, if you had gotten a king, why, then you'd get another card, except when it's dark, when you'd have to get it back.
If it were dark on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's a game no one understands with multi-ball. Yeah, I got what you were saying. It's close. But there are people that actually do play Fizbin or try to claim they play Fizbin. I remember at some conventions in the 80s, they said an official Fizbin deck. I've never bought it, though.
No,
so
it would be, it would be funny if it was a huge ripoff.
Yeah, it was. But I do like the fact that Spock doesn't pick up on the fact, like, not only how not to talk, but also that Kirk is trying to do something. He goes, listen, let me tell you how we play this game. And Spock goes, Captain, I'm not aware of, that
whatever bullshit you're about to say.
It's like, Spock, shut up already. But, so they eventually escape the bad guys. But what happens is Kirk gets caught by Krako's men, and Spock and McCoy break into the local radio where we hear Jimmy Doohan as the radio announcer. With the jail. Yes. That's with it. That's why you have to watch the shorts. He's the radio announcer going, it's the jailbreakers. It's Jimmy Doohan, if you listen really carefully.
Well, and he's a master voice actor, right?
Yes, he's a voice actor. In fact, his Scottish accent is also fake. Don't make me repeat the story about how I met him drunk in the parking lot.
No, tell us again. It's been a while. I actually like that story.
So, a long time ago at shore leave in a convention, Star Trek convention in Maryland, my compatriots, John, myself, or 2 Johns, I believe, and myself, we ran into Jimmy Doohan. We had were stocking our room party. It's actually Ed, my friend Ed, John, and myself. We were stocking up our room party. We were known as the Starfleet Band of Pirates. We had a huge party. We get to the liquor store, and the liquor store says, Jimmy Doohan was just here, Scotty. And we asked what he buy, and they said 3 bottles of Glenfiddich. And we said, that
Jesus
makes sense.
Christmas.
We said, it makes
For
sense.
himself?
It's a 3-day convention. 3 bottles of Glenfiddich. And we saw him walking very slowly into the hotel. And I figured I'd say hi to him. I said, Mr. Doohan, it's a pleasure to meet you. And he's slurring his words, and then he breaks in from his Canadian normal language or speech into his Scottish. And he goes, I got these little magnets, and they don't stick as good as they used to. And my friends and I were like, oh, okay. Well, here, let me get the door for you, and you go speak to the nice people inside.
Now, wait, tell your Cole Meany tale where he tried to get you to have a drink with him.
Oh, at Cole Meany, same hotel, different year, because the Hunts Valley, Maryland, Sheraton or Marriott is such a confusing layout. It's kind of like if you put your hands together with your fingers in all different directions. He's standing in the middle of the main concourse going, where's me frickin' room? The numbers don't match. Can't find my frickin' room. And we're like, come on, Colm, here we go. And we helped him get to his room, and he says, come on and have a drink.
Yeah.
It's like 4 a.m.
Oh, dude, I would have done it. You kidding me? Cole Meany's a gem.
He was a gem. He woke up a little late that morning, so it's fine. But, yeah, there we go. I mean, for our episode, though, no one's drinking here. They have their drinking stuff.
Everyone's drinking booze constantly.
No one's smoking, though, which I find fascinating.
That is
Well, actually,
strange,
Oxmix, I think, is smoking a little bit in the beginning. You know, that's one of the things about Star Trek. One of the major advertisers at the time were cigarette companies, and Roddenberry was against it, and Gene Kuhn, a chain smoker, also was trying to quit. So they kind of made everything smoke-free, which makes sense, especially if you're in a enclosed environment like a spaceship. Something Star Trek Discovery seemed to forget, but what do I know? So, you know, they, yes, another gentle dig at the newer Star Treks. Meanwhile, McCoy and Spock escape to the Enterprise, and they're trying to figure out how to get their captain back, while Krakow, played by Vic Tayback, has Captain Kirk. And Billa Oxmix eases them down, saying, you can trust me. Would you have trusted him? Would you have gone down with a full-armed landing party? What would you have done?
Mr. Oxmix, I understood we had an arrangement. A truce. I was hoping you'd think that, dummy.
I don't know. I mean, I that was so stupid. I thought that Kirk was planning on it. I thought he was like, okay, good. We got us captured because we're going to do this now after you've just been captured. I don't know what was going on. But, yeah, again, everyone's kind of making very stupid decisions at this for the first half of this. And then the second half, I like how Kirk kind of switches around and says that he's going to like kind of reverse psychology them and to pitch them that they're going to be part of the Federation and the Federation's going to get a piece of the action. He's going to act like them. Okay, yes. Fine, hilarious, good. Jim, what's his name? William Shatner's chewing scenery. He seems like he's having a great time doing it. He's doing a fantastic job. He's doing a pretty good comedic performance. And I also got to say, Jesus Christmas, Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner look fantastic in those outfits.
Oh,
way better.
Suits?
Yes, they look amazing. It looked like it was tailor-made for them. They were born to wear them. And, I mean, I would just see James Kirk in his pinstripes. I'm like, damn, he looks better than he does in his Starfleet outfit. Yeah, so good for him.
It's nice outfit. I like how they begin to turn the tides when they finally get the idea, and then they begin to talk, and the falsettos of like that. Hey, the gangster talk over here. He goes, hey, that's a nice material. And they take the suits, driving the car. It's an old trope of like not knowing how to drive.
Captain. You are an excellent starship commander, but as a taxi driver, you leave much to be desired.
I do like that.
The not knowing how to drive thing was hilarious.
It was funny. I mean,
and it had echoes of Voyage Home.
Yes. No one knows how to drive. I do like the thing with the little kid saying like, I'll help you get into the place too, to break into Krakow's place after they just broke out. It's a lot of back and forth. And they do get in there. That's also the first time you hear the actual title of the script, where the kid who helps them break back into Jojo Krakow's place says, I just want a piece of the action. All right, we'll cut you in. And I think that's kind of where you could say the characters get the idea more, where they flesh it out. And we beam Krakow to the Enterprise after they break in, stun him, and they're talking to the Enterprise in that weird slang, and Scotty doesn't get it. I think that's actually kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what it is. Oh, by the way, Fizbin was totally made up by Shatner.
Well, by Shatner?
Yeah, he made that up. So,
Then what was in the script?
in the script, they said card game, but he came up with Fizbin. I think that's actually that's pretty good for him. You know?
Yeah, no, very good.
Yeah. So, you know, they get them up there, and then that's where we see the final portion of our plan, where Kirk tries to tell everyone, "Listen, we're taking over." He has all the bosses beamed into Bella Oxmick's place. You still have the guy though who's not wearing his suit, and in fact, if you read his lips, he's going, "I just want my suit back," is all he keeps saying in the scene where they're all crowded together. Mm-hmm. You know, the guy who's I think that's Spock is wearing his suit. I also like that Spock gets into the egg.
I would advise you to keep down an ox mix.
I thought that was funny. You like the way Spock doesn't get how to speak, like write and check, and then turns into full gangster? What'd you think?
I mean, good, you know, fine. Again, Vulcans are not androids. They can choose to put on an accent. You know, they could choose to display emotions. They choose not to most of the time.
Right.
So yeah, no, I thought it was good, and it was my understanding that Leonard Nimoy, he was mostly before getting Star Trek he was often in gangster movies. He was often in these kind of pop oilers. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yep. He fit the role perfectly. He's also great in. I actually like him as Roland Hand in Mission Impossible. He's actually really good in that. But that's where we are. Kirk gets the idea to get everyone talking to each other, and he basically sets everyone up, telling them we're taking 40% of all your profits every year. So one protection racket into another protection racket. I mean, I wouldn't say anything about our dear city that we live in as the largest protection racket in the area.
No, yeah.
That would actually be sarcastic.
And you know, I will say I do like this kind of recurring thing in various different Star Trek iterations where someone you know, gives where some captain kind of plays the part in order to get something. I think about when Picard was, you know, in the little love triangle with the Ferengi and Deanna Troy's mother.
Oh,
and
yes.
He pretends like that he's madly in love with her and is going to kill everyone.
Yes. And then he quotes to Shakespeare. That's actually I actually like that scene a lot. That story is a little weak, but that in itself is a lot of fun. But there you go. They actually filmed this very well. Actually, one of the other things is the guy who's like the third boss who's trying, I'm going to come over there with my boys and take you out. He was actually John Harmon. He was last in The City on the Edge of Forever. He's the guy who shoots himself with McCoy's phaser. I don't know if you... Yeah, so there you go. You know, it is interesting that the crew actually said, or the criminals are all saying, like, I only see like 4 of you guys. It's a good point. They only see the transporter room. There's like 4 or 5 of them. Mm-hmm. You know, I always thought, I was like, yeah, it's a good point. You don't see a full complement of troops or anything like that. You see 4 people. 3 of them are here. You got 2 more are up there on the ship, but nothing else. I think, you know, their last attempt at bluff and bravado was well done here. But
by the way, let me ask a question here. Space Marines, do they exist?
They exist mainly in what I would call the beta canon, the Space Marines, in Starfleet and Star Trek. They're part of security. They were in the FASA board game, FASA. They were in the board games. There's mention of them, I believe, in other Star Trek books. By the way, fans of Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies, if you know of a book, come and write us at yellingatgas@gmail.com, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But, if you could tell us, just email us. Was there another place that Starfleet Marines were? In the Starfleet Club I was in, there was a group called the Starfleet Marines. But as far as I know, there was never really any official Marine Corps-like thing short of the MACOs, which later gets folded into the security. The MACOs are a joint military force to arm the Enterprise during the Xindi arc in season 3 of Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's nothing I know of with the Space Marines. I think there's an implication of Marines in Discovery, but the less said about that show, the better. So, but that's basically it. I don't know. It's a good time. They go down there. They say you got to form like a real society. Not killing each other over percentages. Maybe something we should learn here in modern times. And that's basically it. So I don't know. What else is there to add to the story? Anything that stands out to you, or?
No, I mean, listen, it's a small tale, and not enough actually happens. I was thinking about this. I didn't. I enjoyed the episode. It was fun, but it definitely was not complete. It was more complete than the freakishly incomplete things like Miri, but or the first Mud. But
yes.
like it needed a MacGuffin. Do you know what I mean? It needed to be like these folks. They had one piece of advanced technology. Like Captain Kirk beams down with McCoy and Spock, and they've got some device that once it's turned on, it disrupts any transporter signals, and tracking signals. And McCoy, Kirk, and Spock have to infiltrate the society in order to get this thing, but it's been stolen by a different guy, so they have to go and they have to pretend like they're on different sides. Do you know what I mean? Something to give it a little bit more plot other than just got kidnapped, got away, got kidnapped, got away. This guy wants us to get, this guy wants our phasers, that guy wants our phasers. It's just the same thing. And there was nothing specific to tie the narrative together. So even though it's the same length as every other show, it felt like it was longer because the same thing was happening over and over again.
That's right. So then you agree with DC Fontana, not about the skirts, but about it needed serious work. And just think with the original script, this is remade 7 times. So this is the best out of all of it. So there we are.
Sure. I don't think it would have worked at all on a generational ship. I love generational starships, by the way. I think they're a great idea, and I'm kind of stunned that there aren't more of them in fiction, in television or film. But not too much going on here. I think we can wrap this up with a budget and a rating. What's the budget on this, Captain?
Let's go with the budget. What do you want me to just tell you what the budget is, or do you want to guess? Because I will tell you.
Let me guess.
They hit the budget number.
Okay, well, I'm very impressed. I keep on going over because the budgets got smaller despite the production values getting better. So it always screws me up. That being said, backlots, but also a bunch of people working for scale and a bunch of old props that they probably already had. No special effects, or not many. $187,000.
Close. $176,171.1967. That's the lower number. In 2025, it's $1,664,684.09. Yeah, it's $176,000. Matt Jeffries actually used to make a lot of gangster things for the TV shows like The Untouchables, so this was easy for them to slap together. With the merger of Gulf Western, Desilu, Paramount, they had the extra backlot set, so that was all there. The costumes are actually stock in a sense because that was for all their Untouchables, police, and so forth. There's no police, by the way, in this, if you'll notice. There are no cops anywhere on this planet. There's I've never been arrested in my life. It's kind
Who would want to become the cops? who would be taking on the cop cosplay? I mean, maybe there were, and they all got killed instantly.
Or they all got co-opted, which is, part of corruption. Didn't you see, Goodfellas, So it's that type of thing. I just find that. So they made it on time and on budget. 6 days, got it done. What else can be said? It's light and fun. It's not one of my favorite, but I wouldn't say I hate it. So
yeah, no, I would not hate it. May I give my rating?
Yes, let's go to our very scientific 1 to 10 rating, Mike. On a 1 to 10 scale, what do you give a piece of the action?
I thought that the acting was very good. I thought that the set design was very good, and I thought that the premise was very good. The thing that lacked was the plot, was the script. So with that in mind, it was also pretty entertaining, and it never got me super angry. It was more just about lost potential, but I really liked that they had a good high sci-fi concept for their silly execution, and I liked that the tone was consistent, and I liked seeing Kirk eat up the scenery. So despite the poor plotting and pacing, I give this a 6 out of 10.
Wow. That's very cool, Mike, because that's exactly what I gave it as well.
Great minds.
There we go. Woo! Matched again. I give it a 6 out of 10 as well. I wanted more sci-fi into it. I like the idea of the prime directive interference and the contamination of the planet. I do like the actors themselves. A couple of things I don't like is the real silliness here and there and the back and forth of just running back and forth on a regular basis. That's all they do. Captured, run away, captured, run away. I like Fizbin because I know where it's from later. But when I originally saw this, I was like, who cares? It just seemed as a drag. But overall, it's not the worst Star Trek I've ever seen. It is not the idea or the poorly executed Miri or even what a little girl's made of. But it is not like the Devil in the Dark. That's for darn certain. So this, to me, is not one of my top 10 in any season of Star Trek ever. So there we go. We both give it 6s for pretty good reasons, and there we are. So let's talk about what's coming up next. Our next episode actually now is the Immunity Syndrome. That's the one with the space amoeba. That's coming up next. Yep. That's what's coming up next on Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or you want to say hi, email us at yellingatgas@gmail.com. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification, and stop by our TeePublic t-shirt store and buy some merch. Come on.
We need money. We need a piece of the action.
That's right. Forget about it. You got to buy it. You know what I'm talking about. I know Mike hates that. But there you go. Anything else you want to add, Mike? You feeling better? Everything okay?
Oh, yeah, just a delay between wee little baby and little doggy and date night with the wifey and a full work schedule. My goodness, it's difficult to get in some good Z's at the end of the night.
Yeah, I hear that.
Anyway.
Well, that's basically it. Yep.
Still a great time with Captain.
Oh, as always, Mike, it's always a great time with you. So, as always, we'll get together again next time on Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies with the Immunity Syndrome. So, live long and prosper, and we'll see you out there.
I left my communicator.
In Bella's office?
You really think it's that serious?
Serious. It upsets the whole percent.
How do you mean?
Well, in a few years, the Iotians made a man a piece of our action.